Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. So in this video, I want to take a look at the daily chart, then take a look at the shorter time frame. Most important is it's Friday, and so hopefully we're all in a good mood. I want to also take the opportunity to answer an excellent question I was asked on Discord. I can only encourage you, make use of it if you're on Discord. There's a question section. You can ask questions. I'm very happy to reply to these and sometimes even cover them in videos, because this is something I think it is helpful for everybody to understand. So, but before we dive into the question, let me start with explaining here where we come from. Just briefly, not much has happened actually since yesterday, but the idea is that in one scenario, in one specific scenario, we can already call this entire move up from the 2022 low complete, right? So it's entirely possible a bull market top has formed. But as I explained in many, many videos, it's way too early to confirm that. It's way too early to assume that. We even in the 2021, when the 2021 top formed, Elliott Wave helped us identify the top very, very early. I think at the time it was around 53K. I think it required a 23-24% drop, which is still very, very earlier than most people were. Yeah, because I remember a lot of viewers only realized we're in a bear market when the price dropped below 30K. But yeah, you still need some movement and structure to really be able to confirm that we are in a bear market. Now, this is possible, of course, because there is already one wave count, in which I can identify a full set of 5 waves to the upside from the 2022 low. And then in that 5th wave from the August low last year, also 5 waves. And then 5 waves from the April low. So it can be considered a completed move. So if you're now wondering 5 waves, what does that mean? That's a full Elliott Wave cycle. So if we get a 5-wave move on a relevant time frame, without going too much into the specifics here, that can indicate a whole cycle is finished. And that is what many people misunderstand. Just by having one wave count complete doesn't mean the top is in. It's just a warning, because there are still a few wave counts and wave structures that allow for higher prices for Bitcoin. One of them is the white scenario, in which maybe a wave 4 already bottomed, but as I said in the last videos, that's not preferred because of how deep this pullback has become, and also due to the the fact that we have a potential 5-wave move down, right? From the 19th or 18th of September high, 18th of September high. So my words yesterday were we're looking for lower prices, right? Especially because the whole week, all resistance areas have been holding. So it's possible that we find a way to grind higher somehow, but that's not the preferred interpretation right now. If we do that, then it might even be more probable at this stage that this B wave simply extends as a broader, and that's so absolutely possible, as a broader ABC structure before we go down, okay? But that wouldn't change much. It wouldn't really change structure, it just extends the B wave. So I think it's important to realize in one scenario, anyway, the major top could be in, but that's just a larger time frame potential, not expected at this point. We're tracking here an ABC structure to the downside at the moment, right? So, and here is where the question came in. Why do we not just, why do we assume in this bullish count, because I know ABC down doesn't seem bullish, because this is obviously a pathway into the bear market, right? But as I said, this needs more evidence. So if we get this ABC structure to the downside, it could very well be that this is just, the initial one here, is just an ABC structure of a wave 2 correction after the move up from the April low was a wave 1, and we break higher afterwards. We need evidence for that as well. So again, it's all coming down to how the price reacts here. But the question was, okay, we're tracking this as a wave 2. Why do we not just assume this is a wave 4, which potentially bottomed here, in August, but we're actually just extending this wave 4? which could reach the 50% retracement? And that's an excellent question, and that's absolute good observation and correct. Yeah, it could be a wave 4. I just don't put all the potentials here on the chart because it just messes everything up. There are always more scenarios than I show you. Yeah, but obviously my task is to show you the most probable ones and also the ones that are really actionable, right? It doesn't really matter if I call this a wave 2 or a wave 4 at this point, because first of all, we are watching the price get there. And then when we get there, then we can talk about, okay, what happens now if we see a reaction? And this is possible. You know, it could be a wave 4 as long as we're holding that 50% retracement at 101,569, because that's the retracement of the third wave. And as long as we're holding that, a fourth wave is technically valid. So if it gets invalidated, this move down by breaking below the September low, I might shift it here. But it doesn't make a difference in the short term, because if it's a C wave down, it can be this wave 2 or it can be this wave 4, but it is quite wide for a wave 4 compared to the wave 2 down there. So it wouldn't be, at the moment at least, what we need to put there necessarily, right? Because at the moment this could still be, the wave 4 might have still bottomed on the 1st of September, even though we don't necessarily expect that at this point, right? Unless we really see an impulsive upside reaction. But the point is, this ABC down, my point is, and that's what people need to understand, it's a corrective pullback. So as long as it's an ABC down, we can find a way higher. Whether we then call that move up a third wave or a fifth wave, in the short term doesn't matter, and probably will only become clearer in the move to the upside. But what these help us understand, these patterns, they help us understand where support lies and where the price might react. And that's around the 50% retracement, yes, and the 100% extension and the 38.2 retracement. So there is, as you can see, an overlap of 3 Fibonacci levels. And when we get there, then we can talk about, I mean, there are multiple ways how the price could react. So we will then talk about that. We have to stay in the present. But yeah, it could be a wave 4, that's the answer. But I have labeled it as a wave 2 to indicate there is still a bullish scenario. And it could even rally in the third wave, but of course it can also just be a fifth wave, okay? That's possible as long as we're holding the 50% retracement, a fifth wave after the fourth wave extended. It's just that if you look at the proportions, this is quite wide compared to this. And this is kind of not unusual in crypto, but I think it makes more sense to assume this as a wave 2 then, but there will always be alternatives. So yeah, good question, good observation. That's why the community exists. So please understand, the labels are not so important. What really is important is where the levels are. Yeah, apologies. Where the levels are, where the invalidation points are, and that's really what counts. Not so much the label, right? It's important to understand this can be, if it's an ABC down, it's a corrective pullback that technically keeps the door open for higher. Now, Bitcoin also is currently residing on our 21-week moving average, which we've been talking about over the last few weeks. Just want to show you that briefly here, highlighted in orange. So currently exactly above that level at 109K. So this is the level we talked about before. And so it's no surprise that we see a little bit of support there right now. I find this a meaningful one. The price found already support in September. And below that level, we could drop to the 55-week, which is around 95, 96K. Again, we don't have to go there exactly. This is sort of roughly where we have these Fibonacci support levels I just showed you. Now, let's also take a quick look at the short-term chart, but here really not much happened because, yeah, price has just not moved. So the scenario from the last video is still very much valid. This here just shows you on the smaller time frame how the market might find a way lower. There are 2 pathways in this C wave to the downside that the market could take. Either in the orange, accelerated move to the downside. This would be the pathway to 101, 102K directly. Or in a broader 1-2 setup and then like that. That would all take longer as well, right? That would take longer. But it would also put the price down lower into the direction of 109K, 101K, The resistance is between 113,259 and 115,939. So doesn't mean we couldn't accelerate down in a rapid pace. We could, yeah. But the blue wave 2 just reminds us we might see a larger bounce before that happens. And it takes a break above 115,940 to consider a more bullish breakout to the upside. But yeah, overall, not much happened. The next support level is the September low, around $117,400. That's the update on Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, I invite you to join us on X for additional charts, news, updates, and all sorts of additional news updates, mindset stuff, Elliott Wave stuff, and content that we sometimes don't even publish on YouTube. So check it out. Thanks so much. A link is, by the way, in the description and in the comment section. Bye-bye.